Hi boys, happy Thursday. How's everybody doing? So Judge Travers just dropped Marty off by David Howard's house. We had that little nerve-wracking ride in the truck. So let's see how we do here in Chapter 7. Alright. David Howard's house about twice as big as ours for about half as many people. Only him and his ma and dad. Mr. Howard works for the Tyler Star News in Sisterville, and David's ma is a teacher. They're always glad to have me come down to visit, partly because David and I are best friends, and partly, I think, because their old house is so big the three of them get lost in it. It's got 2 floors, 3 counting the basement and 4 counting the attic. It has 4 bedrooms upstairs, 1 for David, 1 for his folks, and 1 just for company. And 1 for his father's books, with a computer in it. Downstairs, there's a big kitchen, a dining room with a fancy light hanging over a table, a parlor, and a side room with lots of windows just for plants, plus a porch that runs along 3 sides of the house. I told Ma once the Howards had a room just for company, a room for books, and a room just for plants, and she said that was 3 rooms too many. First time I ever saw any envy in my ma. David says the house used to belong to his great-granddaddy, so I figure it'll get to be David's someday. Like maybe our little house on the hill and meadow and the far woods will belong to me and Shiloh. Except I'd probably have to share it with Dara Lynn and Becky and whoever they marry, and that's a whole lot of people for 4 rooms. Marty, Mrs. Howard says when I ring their doorbell, sounds like church chimes. We're so glad to see you. Come on in. She always means it, too. It's as though she thinks about me even when I'm not there. Then David comes whooping down the stairs, carrying the helicopter that flies when you pull the string. And pretty soon we're out in the backyard, chasing around after the helicopter, telling each other what we've been doing for 6 weeks since school let out. I got to bite my tongue and not let on about Shiloh. We sit on David's back steps and eat popsicles his mom makes out of pineapple juice. I tell David about the fox I saw with a gray body and a red head, and he tells me about his aunt Siamese cat that yowls just for pure joy of making noise. Then I tell him about Judge Travers and how mean he is to his dogs, not mentioning Shiloh, of course. And then David says he's got this surprise to show me. We go upstairs to his room. David says he's got a pet, asks do I want to hold it. Sure, I tell him, what is it? Sit down and close your eyes and hold out your hands, says David. I sit down on the edge of his bed and close my eyes, hold out my hands. I expect something warm and wiggly and furry to plop into my arms. Instead, I feel something cold, round, and plastic. When I look, it's a fishbowl with sand in it, and a hermit crab scurrying around with a shell on its back. This is a pet? My first pet, David says. His name is Hermie. See all those shells in there? We bought them for him. At night, he gets out of one and puts another one on, just like changing clothes. I look at David and look at the crab in a fishbowl. I want to tell him about Shiloh and how we run up and down the far side of the hill every day and roll in the grass and how he licks my face. But I can't tell him anything. Not yet, not ever, maybe. Hermie's sort of fun, though. We get out of David's old blocks, the kind you play with back in kindergarten, and we build this big maze with walls on both sides. Then we put Hermie in it. He skids along the maze, looking which way to go. We laugh when he gets himself in a dead end. I guess any kind of pet's okay once you get used to it, but I wouldn't trade Shiloh for all the hermit crabs in the world. When can I come up to your house, David asks me, when we put the blocks away. I don't know, I tell him. Ma's had this sort of headache lately. She can't take any noise at all. Oh, I am sure asking for trouble with that one. We could stay out on the big hill, David suggests. Chase around in that field. Play lookout. Don't think we ought to till she's feeling better, I say. I'll let you know, but I can come down here again maybe next week. I tell Mrs. Howard I got to be home by late afternoon to help out, and she says surely I can stay for lunch, which is what I was hoping. I sit down at the table with placemats, which are little doll-sized tablecloths under each plate. Miss Howard made us a chicken salad sandwich with lettuce and tomato and toothpicks with olives on top to hold it all together. David's ma's like that. I think it's because she's a teacher, always looking for ways to make something better than it is. She does the same with boys. She don't just leave us to eat by ourselves. My ma packs us a lunch and lets us eat out in the woods. Miss Howard always sits down to eat with us, talks about grown-up things. Today she tells us about how we're got some new people elected to office who are going to be more honest, she hopes, than the people they defeated, and how the country's going to be better because of it, and so will the whole state of West Virginia. David's ma thinks big. You can't just go on electing people to the government because they were friends of your father or your grandfather, she says, chewing on a bite of celery. Mostly I'm thinking about the food I eat every bit of my chicken salad sandwich. I'm so hungry I don't even save some for Shiloh. And then I'm ashamed of myself. Mrs. Howard notices the way I pick up every little crumb, and she says, I've got enough chicken salad left for another half sandwich, Marty. Would you like it? Sure would taste good on the walk back home, I tell her. And she gets right to work wrapping it up for me. Shiloh's dinner, I tell myself. But lunch isn't over yet. After the sandwich, there's tapioca pudding and chocolate-covered graham crackers, which I love almost as much as Christmas. I don't see any way to get the pudding to Shiloh, so I eat that. But I ask, can I take a couple cookies along to eat on the way home, too? She opens up a sack and sticks 6 cookies in. Ma would have blushed with shame if she heard me ask this, but it seems I'm at the point where I'll do almost anything for Shiloh. A lie don't seem like a lie anymore when it's meant to save the dog. Right or wrong, all mixed up in my head. Worse than that, when I leave David's house, I don't even head home. First I go down the street to the corner store and ask Mr. Wallace does he have any sort of old cheese or lunch meat he can sell me cheap. I got 53 cents from cans I collected so far that Dad turned in for me. I show Mr. Wallace how much I got. Well, Marty, let me see if I can find anything back here, he says, leading me into a little room behind the counter. He's sort of talking without looking at me, the way folks do when they don't want to embarrass you. I got some stuff here that's not exactly spoiled, but it's too old to sell. Wouldn't want your family getting sick on it, though. I blushed then, 'cause my dad would die of embarrassment if he knew what Mr. Wallace is thinking, that I'm buying this food for our supper. But there's no way in the world I can let on about Shiloh. I give him all the change I got, and he lets me have a big hunk of cheese, moldy on one side of the carton of sour cream, and a half package of frankfurters that somebody bought 5 of. I'm happy as a flea on a dog. Somehow I know without asking that Mr. Wallace isn't going to go telling folks about it, because people around here tend to keep quiet of someone else's business. Next problem I got to solve, though, is how to keep all this stuff from spoiling in the July heat. Can't keep it in our refrigerator or Ma would notice right off. When I get home, Ma's ironing and watching TV. Dara Lynn and Becky out on the front swing with the paper dolls spread out all over the place. So I fish around out in the shed till I find an old high-C can. I sneak off up to the hill with the can and all the food I got with me. Then, with Shiloh watching, I put a rock in the bottom of the can to hold it down. Set it in the cool stream. Surround it with rocks. Then, put the container of sour cream, the frankfurters, and the cheese and cookies in there. Put the plastic lid on and set a large rock on top to keep the raccoons out. I'm so proud of myself, I like to crow Hungry again, too? But that half chicken salad sandwich from Miss Howard is Shiloh's dinner, and I give it to him right off. After Shiloh and me go on a good long run over the meadow on the far side of the hill, and after I take 'em back, put fresh water in the pie pan and love 'em good, I start down the hill. Halfway to the bottom, here comes Dara Lynn. "What you doing up here?" I ask her, heart starting to thump. "Just want to see what you're doing," she complains. "You go off up here every day almost. You leave Becky by herself on Ma's iron?" "Becky's okay." She turns and follows me back down the hill. Shiloh up in the pen don't make a sound. That's how smart a dog he is. "Well, I was looking for that snake again, but he's hiding from me good," I tell her. "You still didn't get him?" she asks. When I look back, she's got her eyes to the left, then to the right. "You didn't even take your snake stick?" she says. She's a smart one, too. "Got me a stick back up on the hill," I tell her. "How many snakes you figure up there, Marty?" "Oh, about 29 that you can see. Baby snakes all over the place, though, hiding, growing into big ones all the time." Dara Lynn's walking faster now, hurrying to get on by me, watching every place she sets her foot. I don't feel good about the lies I tell Dara Lynn or David or his ma, but don't exactly feel bad neither. If Grandma Preston told me once about heaven and the place where liars go, the opposite, then I guess that's where I'm headed. But she also told me that only people are allowed in heaven, not animals. And if I was to go to heaven and look down to see Shiloh left below, head on his paws, I'd run away from there for sure. Alright guys, that's the end of our chapter. Thanks for listening. I hope everybody's doing alright. Do you think Dara Lynn is catching on to Marty? She seems to be really keying in on the hill the past couple times he's gone up there. So let me know what you think. Does Dara Lynn know he's got a secret up there, or is she just curious? Tell me what you think, guys. I can't wait to hear from you. I really hope everybody's doing well. If you need help with anything at home, remember, email me, make me a video, write me a letter, draw me a picture. I'm here for you, okay? I hope to hear from you guys soon. Bye.